Welcome to the Downtown Madison Happenings podcast, when we hear from our members and learn something new about downtown Madison. This podcast is brought to you by our friends at American Family Insurance. American Family opened its first offices in downtown Madison in 1927, and its downtown presence continues today with the Spark Building, which is home to the American Family Institute for Corporate and Social Impact and the Dream Bank, an inspirational community space. Based in Madison, the company's vision is to inspire, protect, and restore dreams through exceptional products, service, and community partners. Speaking of community partners, we have a fantastic guest here today at the Downtown Madison Happenings podcast, our great friend, DMI board member, Missy Tracy, the Municipal Relations Coordinator for Ho-Chunk Gaming. If you don't know Missy, find a way to get to know her. She's one of the most engaging and energetic and fantastic people in our community. Hello, Missy. How are you today?
Hi, Jason. You are just kind as always and gracious, which is why I'm so honored to call you a good friend. And yes, I'm so happy to be here with you today. So thank you for inviting me. I look forward to our discussion and whatever questions that I can answer. Just fire away.
Oh, well, okay. Then no, I'm just kidding. We are just really lucky. I'm really lucky as a person to be a friend of yours. And again, if you don't know Missy, she's fantastic. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get to know Missy. So Missy, you've been in Wisconsin now several years, but you're a native, is it Marylander? I actually don't even know what a person from Maryland is.
Marylander, yes.
Oh, I was so close.
Yes, you are. But yes, I've been here now for 14 years. I moved here in a snowstorm around Valentine's Day of February 2008. But prior to that, yes, I was actually, my hometown where I was born was Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. So, and then I had a home in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C., where I lived for 20 plus years before moving to near the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, which is where I moved from right before coming here. And I still have 2 daughters there and 4 grandsons. And it's my husband and I home. So we still consider Maryland home, although being an indigenous person, tribal member of the Ho-Chunk Nation, this is home as well. And this community has been so wonderful to me, and to get to know these past, how long have I been in this role? 7.5 years. So yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Madison because I have more friends here than I do in the Wisconsin Dells area, which is a little bit different, but it's a touristy town. So that kind of goes with the territory, right? It's not what we were used to. Madison is something that's, more of an environment. My husband and I, Jim Tracy, who I believe is also a DMI member, we are very community-oriented people, right? We like to get involved in the community and volunteer, just hang out, socialize. And the Dells is a very small population, so we haven't been able to really do much of that there. So I'm just proud to say that I have gotten to know so many folks of the Madison community, which Ho-Chunk refers to as Dejope for the 4 lakes in Madison. And I good friends like everybody at DMI. So, and actually, this is not like a plug, but it was actually DMI that helped me to form many of these relationships, being the largest membership organization in the Madison-Dane County region, right? So, so just very grateful to you and you and I came on the board. You came into your role. I came into the board at the same time. So, and it's been terrific ever since.
We did. We actually, one of my first ever meetings was with you and Larry Frank, who was a board member at the time with Frank Productions. We met at the old Ancora, across the street from the current Ancora. And you and I have had such a wonderful relationship. You are so community driven. Where do you think that drive to be part of the community, to connect people, which you have, where does that come from for you? Where do you find that home that you call, wanting to make connections with different people in the community?
Honestly, I think I'm going to have to give credit to my parents, specifically my father. He was a social butterfly. He had friends so he was Alaska Native, but he also was of Irish descent as well. So he was half Alaska Native and half Irish, because his parents were half Alaska Native and half Irish, each one of them. So it just worked out that he was the same, half and half. And he was a social butterfly. So he was very well known all over Alaska because of his work. He was also a United States Capitol policeman. He was a professional opera singer who sang for Pope John Paul II when he visited the United States visited the native people in Phoenix, Arizona. And he was, did I say commercial fisherman too? And yeah, commercial fisherman. And so he had friends all over the country, and particularly in the Washington, D.C. area, being a United States Capitol policeman. He was well known in all the federal buildings. So when folks would come visit us, he would take them on a sightseeing tour and would tour many of the also tribal delegations would come and have business with federal government agencies. And my father would take them around, and everyone knew him everywhere. So I think that I inherited that gene from him, because I have a brother who is very much like my mom. She's my mother was very quiet and reserved. And my brother is very much the same too. He wants to be very unassuming. In fact, he said, boy, when you came here, nobody really knew me. And then I loved it, flying under the radar, just blending in the background. And here you come. And now all of a sudden it's like, wow, you're Missy's brother. And he's the longest employed. He's held, what is it? His tenure, right, is the longest at Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison of all the staff. So he was working here when it was just a box, just a structure, and he was a security guard and would, before anything was in here. So so I would have to say I inherited it from my father. And my folks just brought me up to be kind to folks. And I think too, growing up in Washington, D.C. area, it's very transient, and there are people from all over the globe there. And I just really like to meet people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, learn about their culture. Being so close to mine, I have just a great appreciation for knowing about people's customs and traditions. My best friend since I was 13 years, so 40 plus years, is Turkish. And I just, other cultures are interesting to me, and learning about them. And so I just think if you're kind to everybody and open, your life is just so much more full, right? I mean, you get to learn different things. And then of course, for chatterboxes like myself, you are able to carry a conversation with just about anybody by picking up little tidbits, along the way. And this has been, a pretty, maybe not real long journey yet, but I've been on this road for a while now. And I just enjoy. In the fourth grade, my mom said, your fourth grade teacher says you're a little too social in class. You're a social butterfly, and you gotta stop being a chatterbox and pay a little bit more attention. So I think this is just who I am, right? And I truly do mean it. This role that I'm in, you need to do this, right? Shh, don't tell anybody, because it's not like work. It's just like, okay, this is what we want you to do. Go out and make friends in Madison. And I'm thinking, okay, you're kidding, right? You're going to pay me to do that? And no, I mean, I joke, but truly, were it not for Dan Brown creating this role, I wouldn't be blessed to be able to do what I do. And I think that's the key to success, right? Find something that, you know, needs your skill set, your talents, just your natural abilities. And if you can make a living doing that, you're happy and you don't turn it off, you know, right? My poor husband, he's like, okay, it's the weekend now. You don't really need to look at your phone, like, but you know, in this kind of role, you're on 24/7, and I don't mind that. I have a tremendous amount of energy, and I think you can relate to that, Jason. And the only time, here's my thing, I just need to recharge every now and again, and where I do that is by the Atlantic Ocean. So as long as I get to the ocean at least a minimum of once a year, then I'm kind of, that's how I charge myself. But yeah, I don't know, it's just fun making friends, and not only just being friends, I mean really taking that to the next level to collaborate and reciprocate, right? These are reciprocal relationships. We help each other, and that's how our community thrives. So I enjoy doing that, and yeah, I'll keep doing it until they tell me I can't anymore. So
I hope they don't tell you that anytime soon, because you are so talented at your job, making those connections. And it's just the last thing you said. It's about partnerships that work for both sides. It's not one or the other, it's both. And the work that you're doing with Ho Chunk Gaming Madison is inspirational. It sounds like, so your father was a big influence, very similar to myself. My father was an influence, certainly had the same amount of energy and whatnot. But I know your mother was also very influential in your life. You told that great story about when you were in the 4th grade and said, okay, well, maybe we need to harness that energy in the right direction. How important was your mom in your upbringing?
She was truly the most courageous woman, strongest woman I've ever met. And I've had, her sister was probably the most influential person in my life, but my mom was, so she was a boarding mission school survivor. And she went on to what is known as, was back then as Haskell Indian Junior College in Lawrence, Kansas. It's now Haskell University, but it is an all-native school. And she went to business school. And when she graduated, it was during the period, the relocation period, where, well, maybe it's not called the relocation period. I get all of those times within Indian policy mixed up, but it was when they were moving natives out of their communities and urbanizing them. So they came to her upon graduation, and they said, okay, you have 3 options to take your new skills. You can return to Wisconsin and we can find employment there. You can go to Chicago, to the big city, and there's employment there for you. Or you can go to work for the federal government in Washington, D.C. And she said, I want to go to Washington. And why that is so significant is because that was during the 1950s. And now this is a woman of color, right? This is a Native woman who has never been out of Wisconsin other than to Lawrence, Kansas. And so she, in her early 20s, went to Washington, D.C. all by herself, and worked for the federal government. And eventually, I believe she did start in the Indian Health Service, where she worked for almost probably 35 years, I think, 35, 36 years. And in those days, even in Washington, she couldn't sit at the counter in like a drugstore, you know, they used to have, because she was brown. But she didn't give up. I mean, she ended up bringing each one of her brothers and sisters to Washington, and she had 9 brothers and sisters. And she met my father in Washington, because in those days, in the 50s, the natives kind of stayed together in groups, and, you know, did things together. So my mom she was very cultured and very refined. She loved the ballet, she loved the theater, and she loved opera. And my father, was a professional opera singer. So they had similar interests and they started dating. And he kept asking her to marry him. And she made him wait for 8 years. And I've told she was truly a beautiful woman who could have had just about anybody she wanted. She dated a doctor who was so fond of my mother that he paid for her sister a semester at George Washington University. So she was really witty, but she was quiet. She wasn't as chatty as I am, but very reserved and, as I said, very cultured. She had like the Joan Crawford suits and just stunning. But so finally, she would tell my father, the reason why I'm not marrying you yet is because I need to earn enough money to purchase a home for my parents, because she wanted it. So in our culture, it's very extended family. You look after your parents, your brothers and sisters, it's all very tribal, right? It's communal. So he understood that, and eventually they got married. And it was later, right? She had, in those days too, my mom, I believe, was 38 years old when she had me. And I was born on my father's 40th birthday. So he was always kind enough to introduce me as, this is my 40th birthday present. I was a daddy's girl. So, but I say my mom was the most courageous woman, because honestly, when I even think about today, I don't know that I would move to a major city on my own and work very hard to of course I would work hard, but by myself. And in those days, I mean, that must have been pretty scary. Although my mom could pretty much hold her own. She could defend herself, and grace and beauty, but she's a tough lady, so that was their love story, and that's how I ended up in Washington, D.C. And just speaking to that whole showbiz, my father wasn't show business, but he kind of was. He was a professional opera singer. Then he also sang with like Jimmy Dean. He knew Frank Sinatra. I mean, he was pretty big deal. So my grandparents, though, my father was born in a town called Council, which was a native village outside of Nome, Alaska. So it was on the western part of the state. Well, my grandparents my grandfather raised reindeer, and so they were vaudeville. So my grandparents took their kids, and it was just, at that time, it was my father and his brother, and they traveled around the United States. In fact, we have newspaper clippings from way back in the day. So it was kind of a show business type family, not Hollywood per se, but they were entertainment. And I'm proud to say that I have a daughter who inherited my father's pipes. She's not an opera singer, but she was in a band in Annapolis, Maryland. They have since broken up because one of the band members, whose father was the producer of the band, went on to Florida to become a rabbi. So the band disbanded, and she's not singing now. But I always tell her, when you have a natural talent and a natural gift like that, you're supposed to share that with everybody. So we're hoping that eventually she'll get back to singing publicly, because coming up, she sang before she knew how to talk. And I'm not kidding. We went to Marco Island, which was just a tiny, just couldn't talk. I mean, she could talk, but not words that you could really understand. You couldn't carry on a conversation with her. And she got up. We were in Marco Island at this restaurant that kind of had a tiki setting, and there was a band playing, and she got up there and was just singing her heart out. And I mean, she sang at a farm in Western Maryland. They had a big, I don't know, truckload of where they bring in hay, and they had put up speakers and a microphone, and it was just like a big, I don't know, farm field party. And she got up there and she was singing, and when she came here, she would sing for her family up, just any opportunity, never shy. And then throughout school, she, took choir and was in some musicals, and we had parents come to these musicals that the choir would put on, and the parents would tap us and say, we come to listen to your daughter because she has such a beautiful voice. So obviously I'm bragging about my kid, who doesn't do that when you have children, but she's accomplished in her own right. And here's a little secret. My love was theater and singing, but unfortunately, when I grew up, people were typecast, and because I'm a brown person and I look, like a Native person, people said, there's really not any parts for you. So yeah, that kind of broke my heart, and I don't like rejection, because I just think everybody should be nice to everybody, and just, because the world's a much better place. It's so much easier to be nicer to folks than the latter. So I never pursued anything in that field. So who knows if I have that talent or not? Probably not. But in my car, there are concerts between here and Wisconsin Dells every single day. So
we should have recorded the podcast while you were in the car. I don't know why I did not think about that till now. I can get, with the amount of talents that you have, Missy, I can guarantee you would have been a star. But I'm glad your talents are used for what you're doing now, and making connections and telling your stories and being a part of the community. You've clearly learned these lessons from your mother, your father. They've been passed on to your kids. But what I love about you, Missy, is you continue to pass on these same often very difficult stories. You move them forward. And one of the vehicles you've been able to do that in is a book group that you and I are in. And we've been able to really tackle some very difficult material. And in a book called Mountain Wolf Woman, which is just an incredible story of a Ho-Chunk woman in the late 1800s to early 1900s. And then a podcast series, which I would recommend everybody that's listening right now pay attention to, it is This Land, which is about there's so much to it, native rights and ICWA and all of these things that are happening to it. But if you weren't the person that continues to give and to tell those stories like your parents did, like your father did, who was a performer, like your mother did in her own more quiet way, like your daughter does, our community would not be as great of a place. So I just cannot say thank you for continuing to share so much that you do.
You're very gracious, always have been, right? That's why it works, right? Like I said, the world is just so much nicer and so much easier when we work together, right? And are kind and respectful to each other. And it's not hard to do, I mean, I'd rather smile and have a great time on this journey than to be upset with folks and at odds. Granted, we're not always going to, agree on the same things, but I think respect and kindness and appreciation, is that's how we get through this, right? Because life isn't always kind to all of us in all different types of situations. Not that I like everything easy, but I want to enjoy this journey, because really it's not that long, right? I mean, shorter for others, but I think we're all here for a reason and a purpose. And so we should find that, and then just flourish, right? And I really, that's what I always tell my kids, it doesn't matter to me as long as you're happy and you are a wonderful citizen, contribute, get involved in your community. If you're shy, like my son happens to be, there are other ways you can do things, but just we're not here to take, right? We're here to be part of a community and contribute and share with others. So, and I know all this sounds so fluffy, but truly, this is what I believe. It's how I try to live every day. And that's why I get to continue to do this. And it is so fulfilling.
I'm glad you're here in our community, all of our communities, giving your gifts that you have. All right, we're gonna make this a little harder on you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Fast and Furious 5. We're gonna ask 5 rapid fire questions about downtown and see what your answers are. You ready, Missy?
I'm ready.
All right. What's your favorite summertime activity downtown?
Wow. So we don't do it quite. I've done it once. My husband has yet to do it, but we're water people. And I love getting on a boat, whatever type of watercraft that is, on one of these lakes. You know, I've done it before. I've gotten a tour of Lake Mendota and learned about the history about the Ho-Chunk people on that lake. And I think that, you know, my husband would, I know he loves being on the water. We used to have a fishing boat. So it would be, yeah, I need to get on these lakes more.
I mean, we're a community of lakes, right? The Ho-Chunk have been in this community around these lakes for 13,000 years because of the water.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Not kind of water. There's water in this item, but what's your favorite Babcock ice cream flavor? I don't know what the tie-in there was. That there's no tie-in. I really tried to work a tie-in there. There wasn't one. But what's your favorite ice cream flavor from Babcock?
So I'm embarrassed to say I have never had Babcock ice cream. That's terrible, right? I need to.
No. It just means we can, you know, we can do together.
What?
Let's rent a boat and have some ice cream on it, and we're there.
We're there. Yeah.
All right.
And I love experiencing that flavor, best flavor from Babcock. I'll defer to your choice.
Perfect. We'll get like a 4 scoops. You can just try 4 different flavors.
There you go.
Then we may need to call the doctor, or someone need to help us up the boat because we'll be asleep from how much sugar and cream we've just eaten. But that's okay too. That's okay.
So I have a quick question before the next rapid fire question. Is Babcock the one that combines flavors?
Well, they do have a lot of different flavors. So they have known most famously for that orange custard chocolate chip. They have something.
That's it. Yes, they combine things. That I have had Babcock, and yes, that's my favorite.
See, it is good. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good. And you know what?
Got that problem solved.
Right. And I wasn't going to take that flavor, but whoever was at when we said goodbye to Rebecca Blank when she was leaving us, we're at an event at the Discovery Building, and she said, Missy, take the orange chocolate chip. And I'm like, what? She goes, you're going to love it. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's it.
That's it. It's interesting though that she didn't tell you to take her flavor that's named after her, the Becky lime pie, but that's another. All right. What's your favorite downtown restaurant?
The Tempest.
Oh, that was fast. I like that. Okay.
Maryland crab cakes.
When a visitor comes to town.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so good. All right. So when a visitor comes to town, say someone from Maryland, your family member, what's the one place you make sure to take them downtown?
Wow. I would say, oh goodness. To visit the mounds. And my favorite is at the Mendota, help me out here, hospital. What is it called? It's the Mendota Hospital it's the
health facility. Yep.
Yes. And they have the largest mound eagle there. So that's where I would take them. It's not downtown, a little bit out.
No. But the whole area is one of the largest concentration of mounds in the world, correct?
That's correct. Yes, that is correct.
That is a history that we need to be celebrating more here in downtown. All right, last question.
Okay.
Downtown. It could be anywhere in the world. And I think I already know the answer, but I want to ask it again because I know how important of a place it is. What's your favorite place in the entire world?
That's really tough. You know, you'd think it'd be the obvious and be Maryland. And while that might be home, I'm going to have to say the Outer Banks in North Carolina. So, yeah,
That's all one space that, you know.
Yeah, that whole
one strip.
Eastern seaboard, right? Yes. Yeah.
It's an arbitrary border.
Yeah. There's a bridge. You can go into in Outer Banks. On one side is the Atlantic Ocean, and on the other side is the bay. And so you're driving down this bridge. I think it's into Rodanthe, and it is, oh, to me, it is utopia. And truly, that's all good, right? All good things, all good energy. That's where I get it all from. And then I can go the whole year and I can live through Wisconsin winters and all of that.
That's no easy. Well, you have the best spirit, the best energy. Missy Tracy, the Municipal Relations Coordinator for Ho-Chunk Gaming. Thank you for joining us today on the Downtown Happenings podcast made to you by our friends at American Family. Missy, thank you for being you. We are so appreciative for all you do for downtown, for DMI. You're an excellent board member and a wonderful friend. So thank you for being here today with us, Missy.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Madeline. Everybody go out and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful, hot, sunny day, because I've waited for it for almost a year now. So that's what I'm going to do in a little while. So thank you again, guys, for this chat. I love it and look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Awesome.